ANA space MARI space CAUCE. And we have Vice President for Facilities, Lou Cariello, LOU space CARIELLO. I'll hand it over to Anna Mari.
First of all, thank you for taking the time to come here and allow us to talk about an incident that I know is very much on the minds of everyone on our campus and throughout our community. First of all, I want to say that there is nothing more difficult than when any individual, but especially a student, dies on your campus. Every single one of our students is full of potential. They have amazing futures ahead of themselves. These are future leaders for our country, and this is a loss that we all feel very deeply, and that I certainly feel incredibly personally. Under these conditions, we always think about, is there something we could have done better? What could we have possibly done differently? Is there something we could have done to prevent this? One of the things that I know that you're all interested in, I know it's something that I've been talking to our students about, is understanding better how we make decisions around when and if to suspend operations. How do we maintain our campus, etc. I do want to add one piece of news that we found out literally seconds ago, and that's that according to the coroner, the student died of natural causes due to a pulmonary embolism. So we are, whether exactly how that interacted with the fall, this is brand new information, but I did want to share that, and we just found that out literally minutes ago.
So did the student hit their head?
We're trying that with this new information, we're trying to put the pieces together. I know that one of the things that we discussed yesterday was that people that were with her noted that she didn't break her fall. I mean, generally speaking, if you slip, and so it is, so maybe did she have the embolism and that caused her to fall, or I don't know. This is new information.
So you guys wouldn't know if that was a pre-existing condition that she had at this point?
We do not know.
Okay, because I think pulmonary embolisms can come after severe head trauma, so.
I'm adding a new piece of information. The coroner said that she died of natural causes due to a pulmonary embolism. I don't know.
Right.
It doesn't take away from the fact that we can and should have a discussion about snow days and safety of campus. It does not at all take away from the fact that we know more snow events are coming, and the safety of all our students continues to be front of mind. I just felt that we just found this out, and you will be hearing that, and I wanted to share that information. We have not been able to, it's brand new information to us.
So with more snow coming in, so what steps is the university taking?
Okay, just to give you a sense of what our process is our typical schedule is we typically have a first phone call or meeting about 4 o'clock, and we will have one right after this, and we bring together both individuals who have been on top of the latest forecasts so that we know the most relevant weather information that we possibly have. We have folks from facilities, from student life. I mean, it's important to remember we never close campus. Suspending operations still means we have a significant number of students who are on residence on campus. So we have student life involved. I get recommendation, I make the final decision. So I take full and ultimate responsibilities for any decisions about closure of suspension of operations on campus. So typically we meet at 4 o'clock. Sometimes when the weather forecasts all seem to agree, we can make a decision at 4, in which case we will say, we can send out information to campus saying we will be closed tomorrow, we will start late, we will close early, whatever decision is made. It's not unusual at 4 o'clock to still be, in which case generally the follow-up call is at 11 p.m. And so at 11 p.m. the same people get together and have that discussion. We might make a call then, we might not. We might make a preliminary call then. And then unless a final call has been made, the next call is at 4 a.m. Our goal is to try and get a final decision out to people, certainly no later than 6 a.m., so that people can, I can still remember, this was probably 30 years ago. I lived on Capitol Hill, and if it was snowing, I had to take a bus onto campus. And I can still remember once working to get onto campus at 10, and the decision to close was made about half an hour later. I mean, the fact that we tend to do 4, 11, and 4, and our goal is to make a final decision by around 6 a.m., but conditions evolve, and if everyone's on campus at 9 a.m. and new information makes us think we need to close at 10, and that's the right thing to do for safety, I know there'll be a lot of people upset at us because they made it all the way in, but we will close at that time if that's the right thing to do. So, 4, 11, and 4 is our schedule, but we will make a decision. Anytime we think that something is such that it's not safe to be on campus, we will make the decision to close at that time.
So with this new information that you guys have on the students' cause of death, how are you proceeding in the investigation? Is the thought process still kind of maybe ICE is to blame, or is wasn't to blame?
To some degree, I think that it's only normal and only natural to think about blame to the degree of it makes us feel that we're more in control. The truth is that we are going to have our discussions about what to do next and how, in the same way, regardless of what it was that caused the student's death. And as a community, we will grieve this student and the life that's been extinguished and the future that's no longer there. It hurts every bit as much, regardless of what the cause was.
But even if you close campus, it doesn't prevent people from walking in, right?
We don't close campus, we suspend operations. And what you're pointing out is very right. One of the things that we weigh in making decisions to close campus, putting the safety of our students first, is that weighing between what we think is safer to keep campus open, have students going to class and that predictability, or have it be open and we still will have people on campus, but we won't have as many. But that is something that we weigh. I think that part of what we're all taking in right now is that in Seattle, because we don't tend to get quite as much snow, people think of snow days as celebratory. We're going to go out and we're going to take our sleds, etc. And now we're seeing the other side of snow and of ice. This particular situation has been more challenging than most, because typically what we get in Seattle is we get snow, then we get a melt, then we get rain, and it's gone. And what we've had is a situation where the temperatures have stayed below freezing, and so we get some melt, then we get refreezing, and so it's been a more difficult environment than typical in terms of as I suspect that there is no place that you can go in Seattle right now that there's not some patches of ice in some areas.
Some students on social media have complained about, pathways not being iced or shoveled or salted. And so I think that's part of the question is, okay, in addition to making a decision about whether to suspend operation, what about decisions on what pathways to clear?
Yes, do you want?
Sure.
Sure.
So, first of all, I'd like to add my deepest condolences to the parents and family and friends and all who are impacted by this terrible tragedy. With regard to your question on what we do in facilities, we set those priorities and look at the map of the campus and identify, we know where the high traffic areas are, and we focus our initial efforts on creating pathways within existing walkways on the campus to ensure that we have the ability and we improve that capability over time to get from point A to point B. We know where the highest traffic areas are and the highest needs are for people to conduct normal business operations here on campus and go to class. And over time, our crews will continue to work. They continue to work today, right now as we speak, to improve those conditions and make it more and more navigable with time. But initially, we're focused on ensuring that we've got pathways that will affect that transportation of our people to conduct normal operations.
What are some of the high traffic areas on campus, for example?
So basically any of the academic areas, certainly the humanities academic buildings in the quad, all of the buildings around Drumheller Fountain, where we have pathways leading to the various engineering and arts and sciences buildings, and any of our laboratory spaces. But Memorial Way, the quad, Drumheller Fountain, we'll start there, but our crews are out in all areas. We have, it's a team effort in facilities, so we have custodians that work every day in every building on campus, and they become part of the grounds crew when we have a snow event. They're out shoveling snow in entryways and walkways, the steps, but the highest priorities generally seem to be those high traffic areas, and we try to focus our attention on where there are slopes and where there are steps.
So in light of what happened and with more snow coming in, what steps are you going to take? I mean, are there things that you're going to do differently this time around?
Well,
we're getting more snow.
Yes, I think one thing that we have the opportunity to do differently this time around is probably in advance of a coming storm that we have very high certainty is going to happen. Crews are out already, but likely during the morning tomorrow, if not later on tonight, as the predictions get more and more certain, we'll be laying down, treating the roads and treating the pathways with sand and a sand salt mixture to ensure that once the snow does come down, melting is affected more quickly.
Is that any different, though, than what you guys would normally do?
Well, not really. We didn't do a lot of that pre-treatment necessarily early. It was more of a response effort to this event. And, you know, in this area, typically, we will get a snow event. This snow event that occurred overnight, we were on calls at 11 o'clock at night, and we're still talking to each other at 12:30 at night as the snows were coming in. And the predictions at that time were that things were going to slow down and stop snowing. And a few hours later, as folks are waking up, we had our 4 o'clock call, and we're surprised that we had so much snow. So on Monday, we made that call to suspend operations.
Yeah, I'm a bit of a weather junkie, and so this time around, for example, at least based on what I was last reading, all the weather models are pretty much converging on what here in Seattle we would consider a major event. Almost everyone's saying 4 to 6 inches. Some are saying snowgemeddon, and so forth. But for the last snow event, quite frankly, there was less clarity in the predictions.
So is that the reason for to act, I guess, sooner than reactionary? Not necessarily what happened, but
well, I think that as Lou was saying, I think that this time we certainly are thinking more along the range of 4 to 8 inches, which I think last time we were thinking more about flurries.
Got it.
What can you tell us about the student that was killed? Can you place a name?
I think at this point, we are being very sensitive to family and to their wishes, and are not prepared to do that at this point.
Is she from the area? Is she?
I think that we're not there right now. But one thing that we are cognizant of, and we also are working to communicate more clearly to students about snow, is that we do have students who come from areas where snow is less common, and that it's important to be communicating to them about. One other thing that we're doing is I met with our ASUW president, and one thing that she pointed out was that even when there are safe pathways, that sometimes students trying to scurry from one class to another to get there just on time, might feel compelled to walk a little bit more quickly or less carefully in order to make it on time. And so I will be communicating to deans and chairs to please let their faculty know that if a student shows up a little late, let's be extra forgiving, because we don't want, if a student has to be weighing getting to class 5 minutes late or getting there safely, we want them to be thinking about getting there safely.
What have you been told as to what happened? The students that were, if you've been privy to the investigation, can you explain to us kind of what you know?
Well, like I said, the information, this new information, we literally got minutes ago, so we're still trying to, how do we put that together with what we heard?
One thing you mentioned yesterday was that you'd been in contact with the family pretty early on.
Yes, I always try and reach out to the family as soon as possible.
I can imagine with tens of thousands of students that are on this campus, you get to see their faces every day. This is why you got into education, to have to go through that, to have to call someone and deal with that. Can you talk to me about how you can handle something?
Every single one of these students I think of as my students. The parents put trust. I make the ultimate decisions, and the parents put trust in me, and to the degree that I can, I want them to hear from me. They deserve it.
They're on campus today. They're not from the area. They came out. Have you gotten a chance to?
I have talked to the father. I have not met with them face to face.
One thing that's amazing is we were out here for less than 24 hours ago, and just the memorial for students to come together. These are teenagers. These are kids to go out and come together. Tell me, for you to have to deal with this, but to kind of see your student population come together like this.
Our students are absolutely beautiful people. I think that, there is a tendency, it's human nature, to try and figure out blame. It makes us feel part of having something or someone to blame means that you have control.
Sure.
And so I understand that, but I think that there is no question that we are assessing not just what happened here, but also, aside from what happened here, there's going to be snow coming. How can we be as prepared as possible? But this is, and so we are doing all that, but this is a moment when, and it's beautiful when we try and come together. And that is what we are, that's part of why I want to be very open. I don't want to, I'm not one to hide behind my desk and let someone else do that work.
Is there any kind of plans to I guess, address this for the students, to kind of give them that resource? Are there any plans to remember?
We have given students access to resource if they want counseling, et cetera, et cetera. What I can say is when we have had events, memorials, et cetera, for students or faculty before, we always do that together with the family. I would just urge you, this is a family that had a happy, productive, young daughter on getting ready to change the world. They just found out about this yesterday. Give them some time. Give us some time.
We got to get to the meeting to figure out tomorrow's plans. So, thanks everybody. Appreciate it.